I'm Dave Baker.
And I'm Spandrew Spice.
Welcome to Deep Cuts, the podcast where we pick a topic and walk you through the ins, the outs, and the nitty-gritty, so you can appear like an interesting and idiosyncratic person at your next forced social function. Today's topic is...
Tila Tequila, the first internet celebrity.
Who was Tila Tequila? Well, she was the true first internet icon. She also parlayed that viral fame into a successful reality TV show career, multiple record deals, and even a short-lived modeling career, until she had a hard pivot into becoming a born-again Christian, and then just went down the neo-Nazi pipeline. We're in for a wild ride today, folks. A wild ride. Act 1. MySpace. MySpace. It's hard to imagine a world before the internet. A world unmoored from hashtags, memes, and follower counts. But if one person marks the changing of the guard culturally, it's Tila Tequila. She's the person who marked the overnight shift from pursuing a pre-internet version of fame into pursuing the modern conception of celebrity, which looks an awful lot like nonstop controversy. Born Nguyen Thi Thien Thanh on October 24th, 1981, the individual that we'll all know eventually as Tila Tequila has worn many pseudonyms. Tila Nguyen, Miss Tila, and Tornado Thien. Born in Singapore, she has an older brother and an older sister. Her family is what is commonly referred to as Vietnamese boat people who arrived in Vietnam after the Vietnam War. Boat people sounds super racist, but I'm not gonna lie. In doing all this research for this episode, that's always how they're referred to, so I'm not sure what the etymology of that is, but it makes me really uncomfortable. I feel like we should rebrand that.
What do you have against boats?
Around her first birthday, her family relocated to a neighborhood in Houston, Texas, where they lived mostly in a gated community run by a strict Buddhist temple. She stayed there until she was roughly 8 years old. Around the age of 16, she ran away to Queens, New York after witnessing a drive-by shooting. According to her, she then became pregnant, and later that year, subsequently had a miscarriage. So this is like a lot of drama for a young person. One, growing up on a hardcore like Buddhist compound, I don't even really know what that means, but that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, and I don't know if this has any kind of effect on this, if it's a coincidence or more likely it actually has informed some of her behavior later on. But as we'll get into, perhaps she becomes known later on for these like frequent fake pregnancies. And it seems like maybe there's some kind of correlation between having a miscarriage at such a young age and this recurring theme of faking pregnancies that she goes through.
And also having recurring like mental breaks of like lapses in good judgment or, kind of acting out for the sake of attention. Like all of these things seem to be a cycle in her psyche, unfortunately, which is just very sad. It's very sad to kind of be able to see somebody's life be trapped in these negative cycles over and over and over again. And they don't appear to be in any way capable of fixing that.
Yeah, and like, obviously we're kind of getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves, but it's already difficult to break out of mental health cycles like that because there's so many variables that have to come into play. You have to recognize and want to get help for yourself. You have to have a very strong support system around you that can facilitate and help you get that help and stay consistent with it. And then there's just a bunch of different environmental factors in your life that are going to just frankly help you maintain that. And that's not going to happen for everybody. And it's not going to happen every single time. There's going to be, things that occur that make you relapse into something. There's going to be triggers. There's just a million moving parts to seeking assistance for some kind of mental health issue. And on top of all of that, becoming the very first internet famous person, which is probably just, being famous on the internet is probably just like our modern era's like worst like multiplier of mental health issues. It's just it's just a terrible cocktail.
Eventually, Tequila graduated from Alif Hastings High School in 2000. Within the year, she had moved to California in search of fulfilling her Hollywood dreams. Tequila, now around 19 years old, thought that she would have a solid chance at Hollywood stardom due to being scouted by a Playboy talent scout at a Sharpstown mall in Texas. She did a test shoot for Playboy. It went well, and then she decided, you know what? Let's go all in and make the jump. On April 22nd, 2002, she was selected for Playboy's Cyber Girl of the Week, and soon after became the first Asian Cyber Girl of the Month. Now, at the age of 20, she was looking to make her mark. So what did she do? She tried to start a band. She eventually got some fellow limelight seekers together, and they formed a band called Beyond Betty Jean.
I mean, honestly, that from that name, it sounds like an early 2000s alt rock emo band.
Yeah. If you want to go to 2 minutes and 22 seconds, that's when it gets real bad. Yeah, I'm not into this. You feeling this?
This sounds like if they took a Doors song and then amplified it out of Courtney Love's fart.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think what they want to be is they want to be like kind of like a Joan Jett front person rock band, you know, but it just gives off big high school band competing in the talent show to a bunch of normcores who just aren't going to be able to get whatever like shitty hardcore or new metal thing they're doing.
Hey man, there was a band in high school when I was in high school that played at the talent show, and it was a female-led band that was like very clearly going for like an Evanescence Flyleaf type thing, and they were way better than this shit. So don't denigrate high school talent show bands, because compared to this, that was fucking going to the opera.
Yeah, I'm just not into it. Not into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like I said, the name of the band, Beyond Betty Jean, that sounds like an early 2000s alt rock or emo band. When you look at this, you can't see this at home, but if you were just to mute this and watch this, there is a very particular type of music that you think is being played right now, which is like early 2000s alt rock. It looks like an Evanescence ripoff band. And then you turn it on, and it sounds like the fake music that's being played in the background of a movie. Like when the people who made the movie just like didn't know. It was like the fucking assistant director had to quickly write the music, and then they got some random person to sing it.
Yeah, like the song in Star Trek 4 Voyage Home where they're on the bus and there's that punk guy and he's playing a song that's like, you know, I hate you, yeah, I hate you. And that song was written by Leonard Nimoy's assistant. It's like those kind of songs, except that song is not bad. Like that song's like a fine punk song. This is not.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like in a Disney Channel original movie when the characters go to a concert, and then that's like there's a band playing in the background, and it's a song that has been written by the assistant director on a Disney Channel original movie, and then recorded and performed by like just the staff at the post sound house.
Well, needless to say, Beyond Betty Jean didn't last too long. Next up, she tried again, this time after working in some recording studios, theoretically honing her chops.
Before we move on, though, I just to quickly circle back. Like this statement is not in any way meant to shame or denigrate sex workers or people who work in the adult entertainment industry, but like the idea that like Tia Tequila as a 19-year-old girl was at a mall and some dude, like I feel like maybe I'm just being very redundant right now because I feel like this is like obvious and I'm not saying anything revolutionary, but like the idea that there's just some dude at a mall and he just saw some girl and he was like, she's fucking hot, and then he just like scouted her, like that's fucking creepy as hell. And like looking at when you look into the backstory of Tia Tequila, like that was sort of like proudly a part of her backstory, like her official biography is getting scouted to be in Playboy at a mall, and it's like, yeah, like, but like that's gross. Like some fucking dude was just like, oh, she looked good. Like I don't know. I like I said, I don't think I'm saying anything revolutionary. It just struck me as really creepy.
It's also an instant time capsule too, though. Like you just can't, you can't be the cyber Playboy girl of the month anymore. Like, what does that mean? Like that's like a nothing statement,
I mean, it's a statement that's like, it's not nearly as cool as what it sounds like. Because whenever I hear Playboy cyber girl of the month, I'm imagining some fucking hot robot, and this is not anywhere near that.
Yeah. So the band didn't last long. She pivoted. She starts a new band. This new band is called Jealousy. This band also didn't last long.
We don't have any Jealousy bangers?
Nah, dude. However, Tequila's first big break came from a game show that she was on called Surviving Nugent, where she appeared as a contestant. It was a reality VH1 show where you would have to like do all these weird compromising things in front of Ted Nugent, which also huge time capsule.
Yeah. Surviving Nugent is going to be the name of the expose HBO documentary that's eventually going to come out about him. As a side note, yes, that is absolutely a time capsule. But I just also want to say, we've talked about this before, and like, I don't quite think there's enough there to do an episode. I've toyed around with the idea of doing an episode, but I just don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough stuff to do a full episode. But I just want to say, for anybody who doesn't know this, because I feel like this is not very well known. Obviously, a lot of people know that Ted Nugent, which, full transparency, as a kid, I was a huge Ted Nugent fan. He's just one of my favorite guitar players growing up. But he's like this ultra right-wing, gun nut, fucking racist dude. But also he thinks that he's black. And what I mean, and what I mean by that was I started going down this rabbit hole of like researching some stuff about Ted Nugent, and I started to notice this thing, and it kept popping up. And at first I thought it was him kind of being joking around, or he was being sarcastic or something like that, or like making fun of cultural appropriation or something. But the more I read about it, the more I started to realize that it was not a joke or like an attempt at satire. He's dead serious. He thinks that he's black. He thinks that like being black is a cultural thing that you can earn. And he thinks that because he's such a good guitar player and he's learned to play the blues and he's like played the blues in clubs with like other black blues players, he thinks that he has become black and he identifies as a black man. And that's 100% real.
Before Rachel Dolezal, Ted Nugent, the unknown story.
I mean, and it's kind of crazier than Rachel Dolezal, because it's not like, oh, I'm darkening my skin and pretending, like posing as a black person. He just thinks that he like converted to being black, like you would convert to Judaism or something. It's very bizarre. But anyway,
I feel like we should talk a little bit, maybe about kind of our first interactions with Tila Tequila. Did you have a MySpace page? I think that's what most people know her for. Were you friends with Tila Tequila?
I was not friends with Tila Tequila. It's funny because this might come as a surprise to you and maybe the listeners if they've just kind of kept if they've been observant of the things that we've talked about and me talking about what my day job is and stuff like that. But I never was interested in social media up until I really got into the industry. I never had a personal MySpace. I only had a music MySpace page for my own music, which I eventually just made because I saw that other people were making them, and I was like, oh, it seems like, oh, you can make a page and like put your songs on it and people can hear your songs. So that was interesting to me. So I had a music MySpace page. But other than that, before like the mid 2010s, whenever I sort of got into the social media industry, I had zero interest in social media, and I really didn't have any social media pages other than that. But I was aware of Tila Tequila. I saw the phenomenon of it, of people being friends with her, and and the whole thing about how she has the most friends on Facebook or on MySpace, and she like actually maxed out the number of friends that you could have. I was aware of that, but I wasn't friends with her, and I was only sort of aware of it. I don't even know, seeing people talk about it on MySpace, I guess.
I don't remember if I was friends with her or not, but I definitely saw her profile, and I had a MySpace page, and I mostly used it to talk to comics nerds because, hi, it's me. Robert Kirkman and I used to send messages back and forth on MySpace.
You were like, you should like make a show out of that book you're doing.
Yeah, have you ever thought about like doing a show called The Walking Dead? No? Okay, cool. Yeah, but I MySpace was super fun until it wasn't, and then boy was it not fun anymore. That's when I left. Yeah, I think she's a very interesting person, especially just witnessing the arc of her life, where there's just so many weird, bizarre things that you wouldn't even really be aware of about her without social media. Like, social media is what put her on, and social media was her undoing in like every way, which is pretty fascinating.
Well, the interesting thing is, I wasn't really aware of this specific part of it. So I sort of, my understanding of the trajectory of Tila Tequila was that she started out as this person who kind of organically turned into this weird celebrity from having the most friends on social media or on MySpace. I wasn't aware of the fact that she was sort of like in the adult entertainment industry prior to that. I thought that came later, as like she used her fame to start doing that stuff. I didn't realize that she already had a career in that. And then MySpace was almost kind of like just a marketing strategy for promoting her website.
But she was like in all of the spaces, though. She was trying to be an actor. She was trying to be a musician. She was trying to be a model. She was on all these like racing covers and like motorcycle covers and car covers for magazines. Like she was kind of this weird, like, is there a camera there? I'll show up.
Yeah. Like kind of like internet hustle culture before like it was even a thing, before even people even realized that was a thing you could do. But the one thing that I had seen that I also obviously wasn't aware of was that, there at least seemed to be some early indications of maybe some issues with her even back then. So basically I saw that apparently on her MySpace page, because if you remember, like on MySpace, there was this sidebar on the left of your MySpace page. So you had like your main feed, where you had like posts from yourself and other people in the middle, and then you had like the little thing at the top where you could go to bulletins where people could post longer posts, and then on the left was like this biography section where you put like your about me, and you put like your favorite movies and your favorite music, and then like all this stuff, and that was on the side, and then on the right there was like your top 8 and stuff. And those biography sections could just be like very long and just have all this stuff, and people would just load them with all this shit that like nobody fucking wanted to read. But apparently she had this section like way far down on her sidebar with like in her little like biography section, where she's talking about herself and her music and linking to all of her pages and all this stuff like that. And then at the very bottom, she just starts talking about how she has multiple personalities. And one of her personalities, his name is Jane, and she like wants to kill people, and like some fairly concerning things that like could either be interpreted as, somebody like an edgelord type, like trying to just joke about how you have multiple personalities to try to seem edgy and interesting, like a lot of people did back then, or like a genuine expression of some like potential mental health issues she was having.
Yeah, I didn't remember that until you said that, but I do remember that being like a weird trope that a lot of people had on their pages, where these kind of like strange, almost kind of like building a character information. Like sometimes the bios were just like, my name is George and I'm from fucking this place. And sometimes there were like these weird stories that people would make where it was almost kind of like a fictionalized version of your own history, but with like jokes and punchlines and stuff. Yeah, I had completely forgot about that trope of MySpace pages until you said that right now.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about MySpace, just to slightly talk about MySpace for a second, is because you were talking about how MySpace was fun until it wasn't, which I'm assuming you're talking about as it started to get like inundated with like ads and stuff.
Yeah, that, and also just the culture changed. You know, it was really like a youth-oriented platform for, I want to say, about 5 years. You know, there were like, it was just like kids on there hanging out, talking about music and whatever they were into, and there was not a lot of old people. It was just almost like literally like people from like 14 to 25, and that's kind of about it. And even the people that were like 25, you were like, what are you doing on here? You seem kind of old for this. And then it reached critical mass, and a bunch of people started coming in. Brands started coming in, a bunch of designers. I remember a bunch of designers went on there and started posting basically like commercials where graphic designers were pivoting from website design to MySpace page design. So they were like, you know, whatever you want your MySpace page to look like, I can design it for you, blah, 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 blah. And I remember being hit up by a bunch of those people and just being like, what is this? This is like, I thought we were here to talk about like the Smiths. Like, what the fuck is this shit? You know? So yeah, like I said, it was really fun until it wasn't.
Yeah, well, that was another interesting thing about MySpace is I've talked about this before with other people, and I feel like, and I think this has been said by other people as well, but like for a lot of people, MySpace was their first introduction to coding, because you, unlike any other social media platform that exists now, you could just go in and like edit the HTML of your page and like custom design it to look however you wanted. And while you're talking about people trying to like peddle their services of doing that for you, a lot of people just like did that shit themselves. And because they wanted to customize and change their Facebook or MySpace pages, they like learned how to write HTML, which was just like people just like learning, like teenagers just learning how to code by virtue of trying to like trick out their pages. But the other interesting thing about MySpace is that I think a lot of people look back on it as this sort of like nostalgic golden age of social media, where it was like you're talking about, just all about hanging out and talking about stuff. And then later on, brands started coming in, and then it started to become inundated with ads. And then people migrated over to Facebook because Facebook didn't have ads and was a little bit cleaner. And then eventually Facebook obviously changed into like that plus even worse. But the interesting thing about MySpace that I think maybe a lot of people don't realize is that MySpace was actually from the very get-go kind of like a corporate psyop. MySpace was created by a marketing company who looked at the success of LiveJournal, and they were, and you know, to put it into perspective, we kind of take it for granted, this idea of like social media and communicating on social media. But at this time, the idea of a centralized hub of like a one specific website where a bunch of people went to talk about themselves and interact with each other was completely novel and not a thing that really existed. So this marketing company saw that LiveJournal was this like really successful website where you could, without having to make your own website, you could just go here, use their website, and create your own blog within their existing infrastructure, and then just start posting your thoughts and talking with other people. And they were basically like, man, that seems like it's very powerful. I wonder what would happen if you created something like that, but then you also put ads on it. And so they made MySpace, and the concept of MySpace was, we're going to let this start and we're going to see if we can make it become popular. And then after it's become popular, after like a couple years, we're going to flip a switch and start putting ads here. And so the golden age of MySpace was that couple of year period where there was no ads, and they were kind of just like letting it get popular and letting it like take root. And then the moment that this company decided to flip the switch and make it become the thing that they originally created it to be, that was when people were like, fuck this. And then the downward spiral of it, and fucking Justin Timberlake buying it or whatever the fuck happened. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that like MySpace was always this weird marketing gimmick from the very beginning.
The true engine that would propel Tila Tequila's stardom was a burgeoning tool that would change the way American life was lived: social media. Act 2. Tila. In 2003, Tila Tequila joined a burgeoning social media platform named MySpace. She posted some risque songs, some music videos, and some even spicier bikini photos, and her profile took off overnight. Over the next 3 years, she would repeat this formula, and it would work in her favor, big time. By 2006, she had gained over 30 million friends on the platform. She was the queen of MySpace. All right, so this is the song "I Love You," I just
wanna let you know that I never felt this way.
Oh boy.
I think I love you.
Silhouettes of Tila Tequila dancing.
But if you ever hurt me, I'll fucking kill you. You
better go down when you get with me. You better get here, back out to three. You better do right, I'll fuck you right. You better go down when you get with me. You better realize I don't want you need.
Wow, this is so not my bag.
I honestly did not expect where that went.
If you cannot please, so you better bow down and get on your knees. Put the diamonds out, give me what I need. Hold up, do you see me laughing? You think that is a joke? I'ma start harassing all you little hoes that be trying to pass it. You better tell them.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Who you talk?
Yeah, so I mean, so you hear what we're hearing. It's I mean, this obviously still happens now, but I think especially during the MySpace age, it was just like, it was the easiest thing in the world for any person to like make a gimmicky rap song and just be like, I'm a musician now, that like weren't actual rappers, had no connection or respect for the genre or its history. We're just like, I'm just gonna get some random person to make me a Fruity Loops beat and then just like scream over it, and now I'm a rapper. So it's like one of those type of songs, and the video is just her like dancing in underwear. So very, 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 very 2000s MySpace.
Yeah, not into it, you might say. But I think it's interesting though that she is kind of an unknowing template into what happens today with like TikTok stars, you know, like people like Addison Rae or the hell's her name? The girl that does the, you know what I'm talking about? The girl who does the head bobbing thing, who I can't think of. Bella Poarch. You know, there are people who become famous or at least recognizable, and they may or may not have any real definable skills. So the capitalist machine puts them into the easiest artistic medium to kind of fool you with, music. And she did it, man. Tila Tequila. She's out here doing it. Good for you, I guess. Yeah,
it's got this really kind of like, it's got this really sanded down, generic, obviously not authentic attempt at aping this like 2000s crunk music that was very popular at the time, but just sounds like that, but like, once again, just from a Disney Channel original movie, but even worse than that, kind of.
Tequila approached building a cult personality in the same way that she had pursued the other traditional modalities of fame, with the ferocity of an attack dog. And she accomplished this by giving everything a personal touch. She would pick one friend of hers a day and give them a phone call. Oh, 2006. You were such a innocent time. It's such a weird hook to have as your online persona is just like, I'll call you on the phone.
Yeah, well, it's funny because you said that like what she did kind of like led into the modern day TikTok star, and you know, these sort of like corporately packaged social media influencers that are kind of just selling you like a personal brand in the most generic of senses. But I also feel like a big part of every aspect of her career was the sheer Wild Westness of what social media was. Everything that she's doing is all predicated on it being a novelty and a gimmick. And when I say gimmick, I mean like because it's like the first time that it's being done. And so it's like you know, in an age that isn't in an age that isn't defined by lightning fast broadband internet broadband internet connections and access to like the world's information, you know, it's like, oh, how do I be titillated without having to like fucking pay for a porn site or whatever? You know, how do I talk to a girl, you know, from the comfort of my house without having to like try to like talk to a real human being? Oh, she'll like call me on the phone, and like that's something that's exciting, right? Like everything about her is like, oh, this is just like the first time this is being done. So and that's really interesting. The idea of like building a career off of just like almost in this weird sense like pioneering a new medium, but like not in like a way where you're actually like a visionary, or like you're not like doing something interesting. You're just kind of like doing it on accident just by being there.
Yeah. The story of the internet, right? Like, yeah. I think you should read this quote about, you know, her perspective on these things.
There's a million hot naked chicks on the internet. There's a difference between those girls and me. Those chicks don't talk back to you.
That's the best simp bait I could imagine in 2006. Like good for you, Tila Tequila. You had an idea, you ran with it, and it fucking worked.
Yeah, and like, yeah, you do have a point of this sort of lineage of directly from her to the modern template of what a social media influencer is, because like once again, this idea of like I create thirst trap content and then I will actually interact with you. Like now that's a cottage industry. I don't know if you've read those articles about how like there's like these businesses that are built around this idea of like a company that has a bunch of OnlyFans models, and they create adult content for OnlyFans. And then like you can chat with girls on OnlyFans, or you can chat with people, not just girls, obviously, but you can chat with people on OnlyFans, and like they'll just like outsource the chatting to like just random dudes in Romania or something. So like you have like the OnlyFans model who makes the content, and then guys subscribe and watch the videos, and then they'll pay to like chat with her. And then some guy is just like the one that's actually talking to them. And they have like literal call centers, but it's like chat centers where it's all these people in Romania or whatever that are just like talking to like pervs on the internet pretending to be a model.
You love to see it. You love to see it. It's also interesting too, because I feel like it's almost like this is like the first instance of weaponizing the parasocial relationship. Like we didn't have a term for that in 2006. But she was really aware that like the only real skill or commodity that I have is my sexuality, and people want to be as close to that as possible. So if I'm selling this fantasy of like you can have sex with me, I don't want to have sex with thousands of people. But the closest thing to that is I can sell interacting with me, maybe in a like coquettish, cute way where I'll call you and flirt with you and call you handsome and then hang up the phone, you know, and then you'll send my profile to 15 of your other like horny dude friends, and I'll get 15 more friends and 15% more clout or whatever.
And honestly, like I just earlier said, like trailblazing without actually being a visionary or doing anything, just kind of being there on accident. And like I still mostly think that's true, but like honestly, maybe I'm even not giving her enough credit, because like that kind of is a genius idea. Like before, like that's so commonplace now that we take it for granted, like I said. But like at the time, she essentially just saw that there was a new medium where you're on the internet and you are in a space to connect with people and serve them content, right? But it's not just like a website where you download videos or whatever. It's like a hub where everybody's coming together, and like it's almost like a digital marketplace where people are all kind of hanging out together in a social setting. And she took that and combined it with the concept of, you know, the way that mostly female bartenders and waiters like utilize like flirtation and social interaction to like get tips, or like, you know, yeah, just like to get more tips than normal or whatever. She took that and combined it with this new medium to create a way of monetizing social interaction, which like I said, I feel like I'm maybe even giving her not enough credit for how good of an idea that is. Maybe she was a genius visionary that like fucking pioneered social media influencers.
Yeah, I mean, I think she totally is in this specific, in this specific part of the dialogue about her career. It's amazing, and I think she definitely did it on purpose. The other stuff, not so much.
Hey man, nobody said that genius visionaries were good people or not Nazis.
Yeah. Hugo Boss, great fashion designer. Maybe don't design those costumes for the fucking Luftwaffe. Not good. By 2007, Tia Tequila was a bona fide celebrity. So much so that VH1 gave her her own TV show, A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila. The big reveal of the show in the pilot episode is that she would come out as bisexual.
I haven't even told my mom and dad. I haven't been 100% honest with you guys. Boys, I have a secret.
They're really drawing this out.
Possibly say.
Let yourselves in. I'm waiting by the pool. Love, Tila.
All of a sudden, a line of women come walking out there. I'm like, who is that?
What is going on here?
That's all you know.
Look at these. I looked up and saw all these guys, and I was like, wow, all right, are these a bunch of lifeguards or something? Hello, ladies, welcome. Come up, gather around. Holy, there's guys there, and they're all staring at me like a piece of meat. I'm like, hello, excuse me, what is doing here? Gross. You have no idea why the both of you are here.
When I first saw the girls walk out, I was like, all right, we're all gonna get some.
I never, ever told anyone this before. Maybe they're all gay guys, like maybe it's like a gay bash. But I want to let you all know that I'm a bisexual.
My God, that was the most drawn out thing I've ever seen.
For no reason. Like, who gives a shit?
With that same little like guitar cue. Bow down, down. Goo 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 goo. Bow down. Goo 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 goo.
Like the whole hook of the show is she's a party girl who actually likes girls and guys. Like, okay.
It's so like a non-issue in a modern context. Like it's just like, okay, well, that was your secret, and to draw like, okay. I mean, it's a spectrum, baby.
I wish that somebody had said that in one of those confessional videos, where one of those jockey ass flip flop wearing puka shell wearing idiots was just like, sexuality is a spectrum, baby.
YouTube asked me if I'm gay like every day. Like
you and me both, man.
This is not my first rodeo.
Like ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean just an utter time capsule of the 2000s in every conceivable way. I mean, you got Tila Tequila in there. You've got a show based around a premise that is like an utter non-issue in today's society. I mean, obviously you're going to have some people who would be disgusted by that, but those are just horrible people. It's aside from the bigots of the world, that's just nothing. It's just like, okay. You've got like a TV show where you've got a bunch of dudes wearing puka shell necklaces who were like simulating motorboating whenever they watch these women come into the room. Like just something that would never happen today on a TV show. Just a blast from the past. A better time, if you ask me, where men could wear puka shell necklaces without being judged.
Yeah, I mean, you are a puka sexual, right? You have a secret. Bum bum bum.
Bum, dun, dun. And you know it's real because she said I'm a bisexual. Not I'm bisexual, but I have a secret to tell everybody. Bow, bow, bow. It's very true, and it's not just a made up publicity stunt for creating this show. Bow, bow, bow. This is actually a real part of my identity, and I'm not just like co-opting something to exploit it to make this like this show that's meant to like titillate people. Burn, burn, burn. I'm a gay.
Yeah. So basically, the spoilers for this is the show lasts 2 seasons, and she doesn't end up in real life dating anyone on the show. And in fact, she gets engaged to the Johnson & Johnson heiress Casey Johnson, and they're living together. And unfortunately, Casey Johnson has a tragic accident and dies.
Well, here's the thing. So referencing back to the joke I just made, here's like the confusing part. And maybe it's not confusing. Maybe it's just like people go through realizations, and just because you say something one time doesn't mean that you can have a different perspective another time. But the show airs a season, and it's sort of like revealed. People basically find out that like the show is staged, which I mean, all reality shows, especially at that time, were staged. But she was not actually dating any of these people, and as a matter of fact, she had a boyfriend. And once again, maybe she's polyamorous or whatever. So who knows the reality of these things? But it's sort of people get wise to the idea that this show is staged and she's not genuinely trying to date any of these people. And as a matter of fact, like the person that wins, quote unquote, the first season, like she never actually dates them. And then she does, and people start asking her about this, and she denies it. And she says, "Oh, it just didn't work out with this person." So then they do a second season, and once again, she dates a group of men and a group of women. And then she chooses one of the women for the end of the show. And then later on, she basically admits that she's not actually bisexual, she's straight, and that she was just doing it for, the show. Like it was just, she literally used the words, "I'm gay for pay." Like that was her words. And like admits that the whole thing was fake. But then she goes on to actually date in real life multiple women. So I was confused about that part. And once again, maybe it's not confusing. Maybe she lied about being gay for pay because she was embarrassed, or maybe she didn't think she was gay or bisexual, but then she realized she was. I don't know. But anyway, I was a little confused about that part of the story.
My understanding is that she kept up the kayfabe post show and was in actual relationships with those women, especially Casey Johnson. She lived with Casey Johnson before her death. And then later in life, once she was a born-again Christian, spoiler alert, and had a mental breakdown, spoiler alert, she came out saying, "I was never gay, was always gay for pay. Even when I was living with Casey Johnson, that was kayfabe." She didn't say the kayfabe part, but you know what I mean. That's my understanding of it. I don't know how much of that is true and how much of that is not.
Yeah. Like I said, who knows? Like she could be lying about that now, or she could. I mean, that's kind of the nature of, that there lies the rub of not only celebrity but internet celebrity, is like the whole thing is just so fake that there's no way of like making your way out of the house of like what's fucking real or not.
Yeah, and it's also really sad because Casey Johnson really did die. She like died of, at first people thought she died of a drug overdose, and then eventually the coroner's report said that she died of accidentally not taking her insulin. She was diabetic, and so they think that she died from missing her, diabetes medication, which is just like so sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, also she was having a lot of mental health struggles as well, and yeah, so she wasn't taking her insulin, and she also wasn't eating the right diet. So she just was a very unhealthy person, and essentially died from not taking care of herself.
That pushed Tila Tequila into a mental spiral where she became suicidal. She had suicidal thoughts and ideations, and then eventually, she posted all these photos of her like weeping on camera, and like it was just super sad. And she she ended up moving in with a couple roommates, and one of the roommates found her after having taken a bunch of pills and overdosing on sleeping pills.
And several times throughout this, she repeatedly claimed that she was pregnant or had a baby, but they were all fake pregnancies. It was like a weird recurring thing that she had been doing for years, where she was faking pregnancies, and then eventually she would admit that it wasn't real or something.
When she attempted to use these pain pills to overdose, she kind of had this to say about why that happened and how it wasn't a suicide attempt.
I can remember feeling like the bones were popping out of the sides of my head because the pain was so bad. I took some medications and tried to go for a nap, but when I woke up, I was vomiting.
So, she claimed she wasn't trying to kill herself. She claimed that she was just trying to, make this pain go away from both these mental spirals and also this situation where Casey Johnson had died. So she ended up going to a rehab facility, and at the rehab facility, she kind of found God. Initially, she converted to Judaism, and she was going to the synagogue, and she was reading and would talk online a lot about how Judaism was helping her. And then at a certain point, she went quiet. And then I think at this point, she had some like housing problems, and she put like a GoFundMe up to get a new place to live. But that might have come a little bit later. But then she converted to being a Christian. And then things get really weird. After she leaves Judaism, becomes a Christian, then she pivots into being a hard alt-right internet persona, which is just insane. And she wrote a blog post called Why I Sympathize with Hitler, Part 1, True History Unveiled. And this is a small sample of what she wrote.
I used to think all of those horrible things about Hitler until I learned the truth about the war and what Hitler truly did. And he was not a bad person as they have painted him out to be. Not even close. I cry because my heart feels broken. Here is a man who is not a coward, stood up for his country in a desperate time of need, unlike all of our cowardly leaders. And yet not only did he try his best to help his country and people get out of what was a time of depression, economic collapse, high unemployment, amongst many other things, he lost the war and was painted out to be a monster after his death. This is what breaks my heart, especially now that I know the truth.
And how does she reconcile this truth with anti-Semitism?
I'm not going to sit here and say that I hate Jewish people, because that is not the case, nor is this about Jews. It is about Hitler and his side of the story. God. It is about Hitler and his side of the story that was never told since he was not the victor. However, those of you with a closed mind can think I am being an anti-Semite all you want, because I already told you that I am not. Nor will I repeat myself again.
Yeah.
Listen, I am not an anti-Semite. I do not hate Jewish people. I resent the insinuation that just simply because I am simping for a dude who murdered 6 million of them, that I myself am an anti-Semite. Just because I think that Hitler was a hero, and there's literally only one thing he did, and it's kill Jews, that does not make me hate Jews.
Tia Tequila followed this up by saying online that she believed she was Hitler reincarnated. Hitila. 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 Hitila.
Fucking Tila.
Hitila. Hitila.
Nobody in 2005 accepting that friend request and fucking putting the little music player on their sidebar, playing some Taking Back Sunday song, sitting there arranging their top 8, taking Sarah out because she said something bitchy yesterday. Nobody ever predicted Hitila.
Lifestyles of the rich and the Hitila.
Nobody could have saw Hitila coming. I'm Hitila. I'm Hitila. I'm Hitila.
I'm just trying to think of like an Evanescence song, and I can't think of the lyrics to any Evanescence song.
Hitila, Hitila, inside can't Tila. Wake me up in the Tila. Call my name, it's Tila.
They just deep fake Tila Tequila's face onto all of the people from Evanescence. Tequila in Essence.
Hit fucking Tila, man. Hit Tila. It's like fucking, it's reality Mad Libs. Just taking just plucking these memories out of our heads and just be like, yeah, fucking, remember that lady that was like friends with everybody on MySpace when you were a teenager? She's fucking a Nazi now and she thinks Hitler was a cool guy. Like, deal with that shit, you fucking assholes.
Tila Tequila pivoted so hard into the neo-Nazi thing that she started tweeting hate speech at Jewish celebrities like Sarah Silverman. She got into the alt-right pipeline, and after being fired from Celebrity Big Brother, the English version, she started attending white supremacist rallies and tweeting pictures of swastikas. She was promptly banned from Twitter, but that doesn't matter because she rebranded her YouTube account into a full-on faith self-help vlog and just fucking floored it. So I looked for some of these videos, and it looks like they've all been taken down, I think, because I've seen clips of them, and they are crazy, but I wanted to play some of them, and I couldn't find the YouTube channel anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they're not on YouTube, but they might be on BitChute. BitChute is like the fucking, it's the graveyard for all banned YouTube videos, because it's like a free speech alternative to.
Because basically she pivoted into being an evangelical Christian, got married, had kids, became a flat earther, and then started posting YouTube videos where she claimed that she was the reincarnation of God. Another trope you'll remember where she's constantly claiming to be reincarnated. She has all these housing problems again. She runs another GoFundMe, this time for a gospel record that she wants to record. It doesn't make the $30,000 funding goal, so it doesn't get made. She tries to kidnap her next door neighbor's children and make them Christian by baptizing them.
Yeah, and she tried to do it on live stream.
Yeah. It's just, this period is just wild.
Yeah, she claimed that she was God. One time she said that she was Taylor Swift and that she created Taylor Swift. One time she was live streaming and she was just in her room, but she was saying that she was on like a spaceship in like another dimension, but she was just clearly in a bedroom.
So I wanted to baptize these children for God's kingdom, and they said yes, but the grandma came over here and told them they cannot be baptized. I have the water ready and everything, and they're really sweet children of God, so I just want to make this testimony.
Your mama said no. Can we get baptized tomorrow?
Well, your mom is trying not. You don't care about their salvation, ma'am?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Don't try to make this on that I don't care about nothing that's going on with the Lord.
See, you're hurting their hearts.
No, I just don't want to hear argue because I don't like arguments.
I know, but the devil doesn't want y'all to be saved, but God's trying to save y'all too.
Who the devil?
The devil are the ones who don't want God's children to be baptized. What? Then why don't you want them to be baptized, ma'am? I'm about to baptize them right now.
The church.
I am the church.
No,
the Lord says, Peter, you are the church, and on this church I will build the church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against you.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay, so the Lord wants to save these children, and they will get baptized in the name of Jesus.
It's fucking dark.
Super dark.
Person is just not well.
No, they're very obviously not well.
And coming full circle to what we kind of said in the very beginning, it's just like, it's just very sad because it's just like, I mean, she said some horrible, reprehensible things. She's literally written an essay in defense of Hitler, but also she's clearly having a massive ongoing mental health spiral and crisis that her and seemingly nobody in her life is interested in trying to get her any help for. And the slow drip of even a semblance of internet celebrity just like keeps it alive, because this spiral of like, I can post a video and say whatever fucking insane shit comes to my mind and I will be validated by even 5 people is like, that's a never ending feedback loop that will just continue to snowball worse and worse as long as it's there and as long as nobody's trying to help this person. So it's just very sad and very untenable. It's like, what do you do? It seems like nothing's going to get better for this person until somebody gives enough of a shit about her to try to help her out in a constructive way.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be her husband either, because they got divorced. They're going through they went through a crazy divorce. I think they're now divorced, and their kids are, oof. It's so sad. But it's interesting to me because a lot of these situations it's almost kind of like, I mean, would I have ever guessed that she would have been Tila? No. But it's not that far off from what happened with like a lot of celebrities, especially child celebrities or people who got famous young in the 80s, like her arc feels like a child actor's arc other than the neo-Nazi stuff. I don't think anyone saw that coming.
Yeah. And it's like, and the thing about, that's a trope that child actors sort of go through that arc. And it's even worse with the internet and social media because it's like, I would like to hope that nothing even remotely similar to this happens. And also, obviously, I'm not like I'm glad that this kid is getting this recognition, and I don't have any negative thoughts towards it. But I think about stuff like that the corn kid, this little kid.
It's Cone.
Like he does this interview. He's adorable. He says something very funny, and he goes mega viral because of it. And now like he's been in a Mr. Beast video. He's like. I saw the last thing I saw was like he did some kind of event for like Nickelodeon or something like that, like just overnight viral fame. And it's great, and obviously especially in his situation it's all about positivity. It's all about just this adorable harmless little video, and I think it's great. But also on the other side of the coin, no human being, especially a child, is meant to have those many eyes on them at once and be just shoved into the public spotlight like that. It's not good for our brains. It's just not good it's not good for our mental health at all. And this is the result of it. Like people are just not meant to have this level of attention on them this frequently, this consistently for this many years.
Yeah, but Tila.
Yeah, I mean, but hit Tila, like for sure.
Okay, I guess let's talk some final thoughts. I think for me, I think it's a weird thing because I think a lot of people for a small period of time they had a lot of ownership over Tila Tequila. Like I feel like there was a brief window where everybody on MySpace and on the early eras of the internet were really like, Tila Tequila's one of us done good. Like there was haters, who were just like, she's just fucking sexy. That's why they're putting her on these shows. But I think there was a period of time where it was kind of like, oh, look, it's kind of like one of us internet weirdos is making it out into broader culture. That's kind of cool. And then it very rapidly fizzled when the person was just obviously like super fake. We didn't even talk about her sex tape. She quote unquote leaked a sex tape at one point. That shit was not leaked. She just made a porn. Which is fine.
That shit was spigoted. She turned the faucet on. There was no leak. It was just cranking the handle to all the way to the far.
I know what you're trying to do, but it sounds more like you're making a squirting joke than a leaking joke. So
I mean that too. I contain multitudes. I can make triple entendres. You don't fucking know me. It's
funny to me though that like there would be that initial period of like one of us done good because the internet culture wasn't as solidified as it is now. So in a lot of ways, people weren't really from a specific corner of the internet. It was just generally internet people. But she also didn't really, it's weird because today when somebody, like Charlie D'Amelio or whatever takes off, it's like, oh, she's a TikTok star. And at this point, it wasn't even like any sort of delineation of where this person was from. Just, MySpace and generically the internet like loved Tequila. But also in a very passive way where like, yeah, she was getting a bunch of simps, but like the broader culture of the internet didn't really embrace her or like her. I don't know. It's very interesting that cocktail of conflicting feedback loops spawned a career that everybody still knows their name today, even if they're being a fucking weirdo Nazi porn star, born again Christian asshole, And I don't really know that I have a fine point on this other than it's very sad that this person has obvious mental health deficiencies and there's nobody in their life to step in and try and mitigate the cycles that are obviously repeating.
Yeah, and it's also just very sad that like she was a like guinea pig for she's like a canary in the coal mine for what happens to a person when they receive viral fame. Because, you know, I think it was discussed a lot in the QAnon series and maybe in the Britney Spears episode and maybe several other episodes where the topic of like celebrity and internet fame and internet algorithms and how they can affect people's minds and like hack our brains. Like this stuff has been discussed. And it's obviously, you know, in my opinion, it's sort of like an ongoing issue. But I think that like, at least now we kind of like, there's theory surrounding it. There's books written about this. There are ethics commissions at tech companies dedicated to figuring out how not to get people addicted in a negative way to things. There are watchdogs that monitor these things and talk and speak out whenever companies are trying to manipulate people. It's still an ongoing issue, but at least we have some kind of understanding around it. But Tila Tequila was like literally just like, let's throw this person out there and just see what happens to a person's mind when you have billions of people paying attention to one human being in a very direct, interactive way. And now it's kind of commonplace, like we talked about with like the parasocial relationship and the fact that like being a social media star is like a very common thing. And now like there's this melding where like even movie stars are social media stars and they're sort of like required to do that. It's all been very mainstreamed at this point. But she was just kind of like, let's fucking see what happens when you just make everybody pay attention to one human being on the internet at once. And it's just kind of sad that like the idea of like receiving this new kind of attention that never existed before, and probably what a rush it was to have that attention put on you, and then to sort of like not even realize, because there had been no established continuity for it, that like this attention was not necessarily benevolent, and that like with internet virality comes this idea of being chewed up and spit out. People get tired of you in 3 seconds, even quicker than the 15 minutes of fame that you can get from like traditional celebrity. And also that like a lot of times virality is paired with this sort of virulent negativity that doesn't even exist in regular celebrity as pure and concentrated, where like a lot of times people can like, you can be a celebrity because people fucking hate you. And to have all of that stuff just shoved into one person's mind in such a short amount of time, it's just very sad. And you know, she said some Nazi shit, but like I don't know, I hope that maybe someday she can get some help and some people that actually give a shit about her and want her to like figure a way out of that.
I'm Dave Baker.
And I'm Spandrew Spice.
This has been Deep Cuts. If you'd like to find me on the internet, you can do so at heydavebaker.com, and you can order my book, Halloween Boy. Spandrew, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me in your friend request inbox in my ongoing attempt to become friends with everybody on the internet so that I can say that I'm the most famous eye-patched influencer of all time. And you can also find me not on social media because I don't use social media. Actually, that's a fucking lie at this point. I've started using Twitter. Andrew had a Twitter and Dave was getting too sad about it. And so in a weird kind of like vertigo situation, he started making me use the Twitter and pretending like I was Andrew. And eventually I just kind of like leaned into it. So you can follow me on Twitter at Robots and Comedy, Robots letter N Comedy, where I talk about stuff sometimes. You can follow me on TikTok at Dead Boy Detective. You can go, if you want to pay your respects to the dear beloved Papa Pricey, you can go to his website, dapricerights.com, where you can buy his book, Deadbolt AI Private Eye. You can follow us on social media. Go to Facebook, search for Deep Cuts Podcast. You can join our Facebook group, Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group. We talk about the show, make memes. You can join our Discord server, bit.ly.com/deepcutsdiscord, where we talk about the show, make memes, and talk about other things. You can follow us on Instagram at Deep Cuts Pod. You can follow us on TikTok at Mystery Treehouse. You can go to our website, deepcutspod.com, click on the shop. You can get t-shirts and hats and things with Deep Cuts graphics on them. You can get our Mystery Treehouse Junior Sleuth shoulder patch, and still a couple tape comics left. Simple Code, 9-track Napster rock opera with a 5-page full-color comic, $12.99 flat. It's not flat. It's 1 cent off from being flat, but you know what I mean. Deep Cuts is a production by Boy Genius Media. If you'd like to find this show and others like it, please visit boygeniusmedia.com or deepcutspod.com.
If you want to join in on post-episode discussions, please join the Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group. Finally, subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional video content.